All right, what's good, everybody? Welcome to the stock market update for today. It's Monday. What is it? July 2nd. Remember that this week is a holiday shortened week, so tomorrow, Tuesday, July 3rd, the markets actually close at 1 p.m. New York time, so it's like a half a day. And then Wednesday, they're closed all day. So for us tomorrow, we'll do our normal class when the markets close, the normal educational class. We will not do a market update tomorrow. And then Wednesday will be closed. We'll be around, of course, but Wednesday, the Jazz Wealth, the stock markets will be closed. We'll start again on Thursday. So with that in mind, the markets are a bit in holiday mode. Today was one of those sleepy, sort of quiet days where we just sort of started, quietly down. It was like, oh, we're down on the day, then we're up a little bit. Actually, we started creeping up throughout the day to finish the day positive. Interestingly enough, July 2nd, if it's the first day of July that the markets are actually open, is historically one of the best trading days of the year if you go back to 1950. So I will say that today was kind of a good day because what actually happened was the markets were lower and they just slowly plowed their way back into positive territory. And of course, we'll go over to the charts to take a look at that. Let me pull up on the screen here the charts. We'll start here with the Dow. The Dow was lower to start the day, I believe like over 100 points. It was down pretty good this morning, 195 points if you look overnight, if you happen to follow the futures market, and it ultimately closed higher by 33. If you're looking at the charts here, you can see basically just a series of support areas that the market's kind of following on. If you have no idea what you're looking at, and you're one of our customers at Jazz Wealth tomorrow, evening, we're going to do a class on these candlesticks and show you exactly what they mean, sort of teach a little bit more about how all of this works. If we go over to the S&P 500, the S&P actually gained 8 to finish the day. 2,700 was the magic number. As it was coming down to 2,700 numerous times, it was able to hold that level. That is sort of a psychological number for most traders. They find that pretty interesting. And so for now, the S&P 500 is held. All the excitement was once again in the Nasdaq. That's where all of the positive gains are coming. We're going to talk about that specifically here in our little education moment. But the Nasdaq was higher. What did it finish up on the day? 57 on the day. There were some comments out of the White House that Trump wouldn't budge on tariffs, even if it meant that the stock market would fall sharply. Overnight, the European markets were sharply lower with all of this sort of back and forth trade stuff. It's a trade war. We're just trying to work our way out of it, but it is a trade war. Let's go over and take a look at some of your sectors for the day. Tech, we just mentioned a second ago. Tech was your big exciting mover on the day. And the reason for that, if you're following along, it's the FANG names. I'm going to talk about those in just a second. We've got FANG, Facebook, one of them, up 1.5% today. By the way, they were in the news. They had a glitch early June where it was a big deal. Like it came out that privacy was once again broken by Facebook, and we can't trust them because they had a glitch in their software where if you have a private profile or you have private messages going to friends, apparently that got out to some people. It became public that your private messages were be able to be seen by everybody. Turns out it was only 800,000 people. That's a lot of people, right? I mean, don't put me down there, but 800,000 people out of 1 billion people. This is one of those things where Facebook is adjusting, they're editing, they're making things better. This is not like some malicious effort to ruin your privacy issues here. This is just a normal glitch. If you look back in Facebook's history, this happens all the time as companies grow and everything. This is not malicious at all. I think traders understood that today. If you're looking at the charts, you can see the stock higher by 1.5%. Fairly strong day, actually, for Facebook. Now, if we go back to the tech names here, here's the thing. We're going to put this up on the charts here in just a moment. Here's what we've got. Today's the first day of the second half of the year, right? We're on to the third quarter. And if we were to break this down and go over to the charts here, you've got the Dow, and usually we just say Dow 30. You've got the S&P 500, major indices here, and you've got the Nasdaq, which you got to be careful how you look at this. We're talking about the Nasdaq Composite, not the Nasdaq 100. Okay, so here's what you have here. For the quarter, the Dow down 1.1, was it? Minus 1.1%. Sorry, for the year, the Dow is down 1.1% so far. The S&P 500 has added 1.7%, right? Not too bad. Well, the Nasdaq Composite is up 8.8%. And we know why, right? It's all the tech stocks, right? So all of these doing really, really well. In particular, out of the S&P, the Dow, and the Nasdaq, for the first half of the year, here's what you have. You have what's called the FANG stocks. And if you know what this is, just bear with me for a moment. I'm just going to make a point. Now, when you spell FANG, you spell it like this. It's not FANG in the traditional sense. It's FANG, right? You've got Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, and Google, or we say Alphabet, because that is, Google stands for the Alphabet company. There's two different classes of shares there. We'll do a class on that sometime. So when you look at the performance of the markets, we have the Nasdaq positive by 8.8%, S&P positive by 1.7%. Of that performance, these 5 stocks are 84% of the entire performance of the market. So 84% of the 8.8% that you've seen so far in the Nasdaq, 84% of the 1.7% you've seen in the S&P 500, all because of these 5 names. What does that tell you? Is that good news or bad news? If thousands of stocks are being shown to us in this index, and only 5 of them are doing most of the work, that's a bad thing, right? That's not being diversified. That market, excuse me, the returns in the market are not diversified. They are highly correlated to these tech names. And so when you start to see me talk about, oh, the bank stocks aren't performing, you've got all these sectors that we've been talking about that are not performing, it's because all of the positive moves are coming from tech stocks. So if I pull this back up here, take a look at the charts. Facebook doing really well, doing better than it was. Amazon, we know how Amazon's doing. That's just a great mover there. Apple, okay, not so bad. Really not like the best performer out of the group. Netflix, probably the best performer out of the group for sure. And then you have Alphabet, which is Google, with an L at the end of it. Also that. So all of this performance really, and who's doing the heavy lifting out of all of it? Netflix, right? Netflix probably doing the best out of all of them. So that's why you have the tech stocks where they're at. That's why you have the market just hanging in there at the moment. It's not a bad thing unless you think the markets are going to return 8, 9, 10% this year. Unless every other stock, every other sector starts to kick in, and we know which ones we need. We need the banks and we need the rest of the tech stocks. If they don't kick in, then the markets aren't going to have a big move. And so because of that, you've got Goldman Sachs saying that, just like I've been saying here, that it's going to be a tough second half. Now, Goldman Sachs had some analysts come out and said with rising interest rates and rising trade tensions, they think it's going to be a weaker second half. They also said, they gave me some stock picks, by the way. I put them in the description there. They said that stocks with strong balance sheets will prevail. Those stocks that have strong balance sheets, they gave some suggestions. These are not mine. These are theirs. Chipotle Mexican Grill, Intuitive Surgical, ISRG, Facebook being one of them, and NVIDIA being the other one. These are some of Goldman Sachs' top stock picks. Not my stock picks. These are all Goldman Sachs stock picks. So that's the example of the tech sector there. I just wanted to go over that briefly. If we go over to the energy sector, that was your worst performer of the day. Energy down 1.5%. Give them a break. You know, you always ask yourself, if your stock is down, is it down because something has changed fundamentally about the company? If a sector is down, such as this, is it because something has changed with the energy sector? And I say no. The reason why energy's down and taking a little bit of a break is because this rocket ship of a rally that oil's been on, it's just taking a little break, right? It's like a holiday week. Everybody's sort of laying low, taking it easy. So is the energy sector. So the if you're following energy, that was one of the worst performers today, but after being on a pretty good run. Stock-specific news, we got Tesla down 2.33% today, having a very tough time convincingly getting over this 360 area. They did end up making 5,000 Model 3s in the second quarter, though. If you happen to just watch a little closely, the 5,000th car to come off the assembly line didn't actually come off until the third quarter. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. So everybody that's a real bear and really wants this stock to fall, they were really picking on the fact that, no, you didn't make 5,000 cars because it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. Technically, that's the third quarter. Give them a break, right? They're killing it over there. The guy is trying really hard. So I do fault him a little bit sometimes for being the sort of showman and the, look at me and all that stuff. But they're really trying. So the reason the stock was down today is because everybody basically bashed them and said, that's great, you did that one time. You can't do it going forward. It's not going to happen, and your balance sheet doesn't support it. So stock was still lower on the day. Good stuff. They're trying, give them a break. Walgreens, that is your newest addition to the Dow. GE, remember, is being kicked out of the Dow 30. Walgreens is being added to the Dow, and the stock was downgraded yet again today. Valuation. Everybody's focused on valuation, saying with Amazon competing and everybody else out there, Walgreens just is overpriced. So I'll leave that for you guys to decide. Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo was upgraded today by Morgan Stanley for the dumbest reason I've ever heard in my life. All the banks just went through their stress tests, and everybody but Deutsche Bank, which is not one of our problems anyways, Deutsche Bank didn't pass, but Wells Fargo did pass their stress test, and Morgan Stanley, one of their analysts, came out and said, the analyst said the passing of the stress test eliminates one of its major downside concerns. So even analysts at other companies are like, whoa, Wells Fargo, you got a lot of garbage going on here. So many scandals, so many ripoffs. And Morgan Stanley said, well, hey, passing the stress test, that's a positive for a change. Wells Fargo's got something good to focus on. And so the stock was higher by 1.5%. This could be just what's needed to get over that 200-day moving average. If you're looking at the charts there, really struggled to find any good reason to do so. Is this the turning point in Wells Fargo? We'll see. And then I'll leave you with Wynn Resorts. If you follow the gambling stocks here, casino stocks, Wynn Resorts down 7.8% today. Let's check MGM. MGM down 3%, but they don't really have as much exposure. Las Vegas Sands does as well. So the reason these two names were lower, Macau. Over in China, they've made some huge bets on that being successful, but all of a sudden now you can gamble elsewhere in China, in some places on these islands that are really, really close. And so the numbers came in a little bit light. They have spent ungodly amounts of money over there expanding and trying to attract that Chinese dollar or Chinese money to come gamble. The Chinese gambler. The Chinese are very good at gambling, by the way. I've spent a lot of time with them. I'm very familiar with them. The numbers came in light. So the stock is down. Pretty severe drop here over the last couple weeks, and that is Wynn Resorts. That's all I got for you. We'll wrap it up there. Keep in mind it is a holiday shortened week. If you joined us late, the markets are closing early tomorrow. They close at 1 p.m. Eastern time, New York time. And then Wednesday they will be closed altogether for the Independence Day holiday. So we will too. We'll do one class tomorrow, and then we will do our class for our customers on the candlesticks. We're going to use the whiteboard. If you want to know how all these candlesticks work, which ones are good, which ones you follow, which ones you run from, not to toot my own horn, but I think I'm one of the best guys to give you this lesson. So we're going to go through it. You'll have the link tomorrow to get into that class, and we'll go from there. Otherwise, if I've helped you in some way, maybe hit the subscribe button, turn the alert bell on. All I can tell you, from now on, we're doing these classes at 5 o'clock because maybe in 2 weeks, maybe earlier if I can help it, this is going to be the coolest market update with everything you could ever possibly imagine. And we're going to hopefully just nail it right to like 10 or 15 minutes and just cover everything really quick. The way we interact with you. I'm just so excited. I'm going to probably be talking about it a lot, but I hope you enjoy. Microsoft, you talking about there? Microsoft up a little bit today. Slow mover. It's always known to be a pretty slow mover. Even at its higher prices, it's still been pretty slow. Thanks for staying late to remove the market. Oh, yeah, no problem. No problem. 5 o'clock Eastern time, new time slot, and pretty soon, all new design. Hint, hint. Pretty pumped about it. We'll see. But anyways, going to wrap it up from there. Appreciate you guys watching. If you need anything, you know where to find me. Dustin at Jazz Wealth. Otherwise, go to jazzwealth.com. Check it out. We will talk to you later. Enjoy.